Today we're going to show you a video on how to install an L9080 electrified mortise lock by command access. This is it right here. In this case, this is for a left-hand door. It is wood, and we've actually already pre-cored it with a 3/8 inch hole with a lock wire that runs through. Back over here, we've got a electrified power transfer hinge that's already installed. You can always tell that they're electrified because they have these holes that the manufacturer uses to drill out for the wires. There's one on the top and then one on the bottom right there. If you look at some of the other hinges, they do not have that, so that is your tell on being able to identify if the hinge is a power transfer hinge with wires running through it or not. We also have a card reader on the wall. This particular system is a DSX using Software House SWH 4100 card readers. And what we want to do is, since we're already wired up all the way through the door, we're going to go ahead and swipe it and make sure that the voltage runs through. We'll kind of show you how we have the connection set up at the door. We've got is an 18-2 that runs through the door. Got our alligator clips. These are very convenient to where you don't have to hold the wires. And we've got a Fluke 117 multimeter. We're going to set that to DC voltage. And stay on the meter here. I'm going to swipe it at the reader that was mounted. And we want to see this one. In this case, this is a fail secure door lock. That means that we want to see 0 volts all the time. And when a card is swiped on the reader, we want to send 24 volts DC to it. So I'm going to swipe it right now. You can see it goes up to 29. That's fine. I would say anything more than 32 might be a red flag. Your power supply might be too high. We're going to come down. The voltage is good and the power is off now. It went back to 0. Note that these particular cavities that are prepped by the manufacturer, they normally prep them for non-electrified versions, so there's only so much space that they have behind the lock itself. So what I'm saying is, when you have it kind of set in all the way, there's really not much room left behind it, and we have terminations to make between the 2 wires that come out of the solenoid from the lock itself and our home run 18-2. So really the back cavity ends like right here. What we want to do is take a drill with a paddle bit. I have a 3/4 inch paddle bit, and we want to kind of set it back at least a 1/2 inch to where the back wall ends up here, and we have ample room for the splice. If you left it alone as is and you left the wall here with the splice, the lock gets pushed forward. That basically makes it very difficult for the door to close and for everything to sit flush, which should be here. It gets kicked out to here, and it's not good. Some things to note on this lock: it is a left-hand door, so it swings this way. The locks are universal. If the door swung the other way, we can spin that around. It was already fine the way that it was because it came from the manufacturer, so that's good. The other thing to note is that there's what they call a catch screw. And it's this one right here. It's the only screw. Everything else is flat, countersunk. There's one that kind of has a beveled head. That's like a regular screw head that's round. That is a catch screw. If you can see on this side, it's the only one that's sticking up, that's protruding upwards. The other side itself has nothing, no screws that do that. So the key thing about this catch screw is that it has to be installed on the secured side of the door. So the secured side is the side of the room, side of the door that you want to lock. So as this door closes this way, this side of the room is actually, in this case, a stock room with dozens and dozens of laptops, and they want to secure that. So this catch screw is already on the right side. I'm going to pull it out just in case your lock is your door lock is going to face the other way, and I'll show you how easily it removes. You take a number 2 Phillips screwdriver and there's a spot for it on the other side. It's the only threaded hole on this lock, and that's where it goes. So if we did it this way, the secured side will be the inside, and everything will be backwards in essence. It'll be constantly, the handle will be free on the outside in this room if we install it this way, and that would not be correct. So I'm going to move it back. The catch screw, once again, the rule is you want to have it stay on the inside, the secured side of the door. That makes the handle free on that side, so where from inside the room people can just turn the handle and get out. And the side that does not have a cat screw is the side that essentially is the same side that has the card reader on it. Next, we're going to get prepared here to drill out the back of the door. Once again, right back into here. So the tools that we're going to need for this entire installation, we need a drill. We prefer the 18-volt drills. 3/4 inch paddle bit is what we have for this door lock. 1 inch is actually a little bit better, but we can make do with this. Chisel, hammer. We have a number 2 screwdriver here. Flashlight. We got a couple of beam splices to make these connections of the two 18-2 wires. Stay-con crimp tool, wire strippers, and electrical tape. So we're going to start with this guy here. So what we're going to do real quick is I'm going to take this flashlight and I'll show you kind of what this looks like inside here. So you can see it's basically the factory cutout for the non-electrified Mortise lock. We have an 18-2 that comes out. It was cored with a door coring bit. What we want to do is take everything back about a 1/2 inch to an inch, even would be even more room. We want to make sure we don't drill left and right to where you have holes that come out the sides of the door. We just merely want to go straight back, and we probably want to go the entire height, the up and down of the cavity. Inspection, make sure it will be suitable to what we want to do. See a little bit more dust in the bottom, it's usually where it collects. I think I've got it all about 3/8 deep. I didn't go to 1/2 inch I was looking for, but I think it's still going to be suitable for what we're trying to do. So we've got our Mortise lock, and this, like I said, in this case, this is a feel secure lock. So here's the catch screw here. You could take like a number 3 slotted screwdriver. It should be free. So it's totally free there. The other side should not be free. So it's not moving. The rest of the parts that we have, we've got our Mortise cylinder. This is going to be our exterior handle. This will be the inside handle. We've got the cover, got 2 spindles, 2 springs. We have 2 spring boxes that provides the tension to take the handles back to their centered position, and then we have a spring box cover here. So back to this guy here. This is a solenoid that was installed inside. It is 24 volts DC, but although some DC is polarity sensitive, where red has to go to red, black has to go to black, you can see there's 2 whites because solenoids are actually not polarity sensitive. You can put red to here, You can put black to your hair, it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these couple of beans, dolphin splice connectors, and I'm just going to hook them up already. I'll do one for each of the dolphin splice connectors, and I'll put an overall wrap over both. So this is the lock. I want to make sure the catch screw and everything is all done before we do the splice. It's already good. This is going to push in this way now. If you push it in as is, this thing's it's loose. It's going to go all over the place. I like to do an addition. As you can see here, there's really no place, no holes for the handles to poke through. The handles come in here. The mortar cylinder comes in here. So this is actually a good place to put a layer of tape, so I can hold the wires in place. Is what we're trying to do. So now when you push it back, it's got at least a lot less slack to move around, making it harder to fit everything. At least this wire is not going to cross over down into the front of this, and we can just push it back. So that feels really good. It's nice and flush here. If we didn't make that cavity behind it, it would not be this far back. It'd be hard. I'm going to just inspect it through the front, make sure that there's no wires. There's going to be 4 holes essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to kind of have a clear line of sight. Make sure everything's lined up. So next, we're going to take this mortise cylinder and we have the key for it right here. So this is the key. There it is. So I'm going to just go as far as I can by hand, but towards the end it does get tight, so now I take this key halfway in. It's a lot easier. What I want to do, what I'm shooting for, is I'm going to tighten it up all the way, but we don't want it too tight. But I'm going to go all the way, and I'm going to back out just a little bit to where this is flush with the outer rim, and then you definitely want it north and south here, straight up and down. Now I'm going to take my number 2 Phillips. There's a screw here that we can use to tighten it up, so the mortar cylinder will not spin out. So now if I try to spin this back counterclockwise, it ain't gonna come off, and that's for security reasons. You don't want anyone just to be able to walk up to a door, unspin this, and then find a way in. So I also want to make sure that when I push in the key all the way and turn it, that it does work. So all that's good. I'm gonna pull this out for now. At this point, what we want to do next is take one of our spring boxes and the spring box itself has arrows. So in this position, the arrows kind of point clockwise, and then when I flip it around, it's going counterclockwise. So what you want to do is have the arrows pointing up and then back towards the hinge back here. So when I hold it this way, it's going up and away from the hinge. That's not what we want. So in this case, I'm going to flip it around and go up towards the hinge. That's what we're looking for there. We're going to take a spindle, push it in, spring, push that in. So we've got the spindle, the spring box, and our outside handle. The arrows are pointing up towards the hinge. That is the correct fashion. I'm actually going to start by putting this on the door handle itself to make it a little easier. So that slides right through. Now I'm going to push it this direction through the door. That should come right through. Alright, so on the other side, what we've got, and I have to keep tension on this side, not let it pull back this way, is we just have these two coming through on the other side. So on this side, always the spindle first, and then the spring. Now the spring box, once again, needs to go up, over, towards the hinge. So this direction would be incorrect. This goes up and over, away from the hinge. And if we left it this way and installed it, the handle would go limp, and it wouldn't reverse back to its center position this way. It would kind of come down. It would come down this way, and it wouldn't come back to the center. So I'm going to put the spring box up, over towards the hinge, just like this. Now I'm going to put my index ring and middle finger on the other side is holding the rest of the lock this way. My thumb is on this spring box here. Now we have the spring box cover here. I'm going to put that right there. We got a couple of machine screws. They're about 5/8 long, countersunk. I'm going to just start it and go as far as I can with my hands. Do the same thing for the bottom screw. Now, one thing to note is everything that we're installing is going to be done with hand tools. You don't want to use a drill for any of this, because it'll damage some of the screws, and it'll over tighten. Now I'm going to take a number 2 screwdriver. I'm going to get it close to tight, but not quite all the way. The reason being is there's actually a couple of screws, wood screws, for the face of the lock here. And I want to do this first to make sure that the lock can situate, and then I'll finish the tightening. Now these screws, they are number 3, so you always want to use the right tool for the job. I'm going to take the number 2 off my multi screwdriver, and I'm going to go with the number 3, so that way I don't strip these screws here. So it's on there really well. I'm going to go in. Once again, no drills, just everything's easy with a hand here, and you use a drill to strip it and make it sometimes nearly impossible to take off, and worst case damage the lock where you really can't fix it. You need to replace it. Okay, so when I'm doing this, I'm making sure that once I do put the cover plate on, the cover plate can sit flush. So I'm not going to finish this yet. I just want to make sure. So it looks like it's a little bit, if I hold the top screw in and the bottom screw in, you can see it wants to bend in the middle. What I can do there is take a hammer and kind of push it back just a little bit. Now keep in mind it's wires back there that we taped, splices. So we want to be somewhat gentle on just pounding away at this. We don't want to smash everything up behind it, but we want to try and influence this thing to be able to go back through the wood if we can. Another test fit with a cover plate. And it's a lot better. I think it's good enough there. So at this point I might as well go ahead and put the 2 little screws that hold the cover plate in, and then we'll finalize by screwing on the inside door handle. And I'll get this cover plate on. halfway in. I'll do the bottom. So it's pretty flush. I think panning it a little bit gently with a hammer allowed it to go that way. And to finalize, we'll take these last 2 screws and actually go all the way in. On the other side, make sure it's flush. It's definitely flat against the door, that's good. Finish ring, door handle. This door handle actually has a tool that comes with a lock for tightening. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to go as far as I can with tightening it up with my hands. It's very tight now, almost good enough, but there is a tool that comes with the Schlage lock. It's this guy right here. Basically, it's designed, if you look right here, there's a hole on the side of it. And what we can do with this is take like this and give it more torque. This is very much recommended versus just taking a pair of channel locks and scratching up the surface. Use the right tool here. So I'm going to go towards very, very snug. And the first thing I do after I have it all installed in this fashion is on the inside handle, I want to make sure that when I lift it up, it goes back to the center position. Down, back to the center position. That when I do either, this spring latch protrudes in and out. If the spring boxes were installed any other way, sometimes it would stay down like this. So when I walk up to a door and I see that it's like this, either someone installed the spring box incorrectly or there's a bad spring box. The second thing I look at is on the other side. Now this is a fill secure lock, so there's 0 volts coming through and it's secure. I do have a badge and I'm gonna try swiping this card reader. And when I do this, take the handle and see if it'll pull down. Okay, there you go. So it's unlocked for 5 seconds when I present my card. Want to do it again? Okay. And it relocks. I'm going to do it one last time. And that's it, we're all done.